So yeah, main question I had was related to the cosmological argument. So the cosmological argument goes, as following: like, the universe began to exist. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. Therefore, the universe has a cause. Right?
It'll be. You've mixed up 1 and 2, so it'll be everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause.
Right. Yeah. So my question was that how don't we first have to prove our systems, our rational systems, or any argument also applies before the universe, before we can actually use it to prove that universe had a cause? So, for example, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Don't we first have to prove that this holds true for what was before the universe, before we can use it to deductively conclude that the universe has a cause because it exists?
Yeah, I mean, I don't use the Kalam cosmological argument as such. I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se, because there are some challenges with the second premise in terms of trying to prove that inductively and so on, which are well known now. But the argument I prefer to use is the contingency argument, which I will have a book released soon about, which I've just completed. So, to be fair, first of all, the argument is valid, the cosmological argument, and that's uncontroversial in the philosophy of religion, that everything that begins to exist has a cause, because everything that does begin to exist has a cause that we can see empirically. I don't think there's anything controversial about that at all. The universe begins to exist, or began to exist. The universe began to exist because they're usually based on Big Bang theory. So, for example, William Lane Craig is a proponent of this. He would say it began to exist in so much as there was a Big Bang and so on. Okay, we can assess this through redshift and the second law of thermodynamics and other things, and then say therefore the universe has a cause. And so they ask what kind of cause is this, and they argue from infinite regress that there must be a first a prime mover, and that's basically the argument in a nutshell. But in terms of the second premise, they usually use a scientific theory of some sorts, and probably the most viable one today would be the Big Bang theory. So that's how they do it.
Right, but isn't that based? So isn't all of that just based on our understanding and our experience from within the universe, right? How do we know that all of that also holds true for what was before the universe? Don't we have to first prove all that works before we can?
The first premise or the second premise?
Anything, No.
You specify a question. If you're talking about the first premise, then the question will be like, can we say that just because things that begin to exist have a cause within the universe, can we say that they have a cause outside? That's a different question to asking the second premise. The universe began to exist. Did the universe begin to exist? These are two separate questions. So if we go with the second question, then scientists would differ. Like some scientists, for majority of them, potentially the majority of them, may argue for the Big Bang theory and say, actually, the universe began to exist because of redshift and because of the expanding universe model and whatever. And so, in which case, the third conclusion of this argument would be natural. But if you're asking about, well, if things, just because things exist within the universe, do they exist outside? That's the limitation of the cosmological argument, because you can't be sure that just because things exist within everything that begins to exist has a cause within the universe, that's not the case outside the universe. But that's, once again, one of the limitations of arguing from induction. However, to be fair, one could argue, and this is me once again trying to fill in the gaps here, on a priori grounds. That's the case. So even if it's independent from the inductive reality, that you can argue that everything that begins to exist has a cause. And if you want to get away from the word cause and begins to exist, that's fine. Like, the way you can argue this is that anything that is made up of limited variables, or anything that is made up of distinct attachable or detachable parts, is contingent. The universe is made up of such parts. Therefore, the universe is contingent. And contingent here is something which relies upon something else for its existence. So you can get away from the beginningness of the universe, contention. You can also get away from the Big Bang, the requirement to prove the second premise of the Big Bang, by arguing in the way I've just mentioned.
And using mathematics to argue for the beginning of the universe. That's something you cover in your book, I believe, right?
Yes, I mean, like for example, if we were to say, when we talk about contingency, we're talking about something that could be any other way, and you can do that ontologically. So you can say that some things in the realm of mathematics can be conceived of in another way, and some things in the realm of set theory mathematics cannot be conceived in another way. For example, 2 + 2 = 4 is a necessary fact, but the linearity or the ordering of certain sets and certain sequences of cardinal numbers is not. And so there are things which are contingent and some things which are necessary. And so necessity and contingency can be something which is established without reference to the cosmological reality. It can be with reference only to a priori ontological concepts, things that can be conceived of in the mind. And therefore, in a sense, the weakness of the cosmological argument, limitations of it, can be solved with what I've just proposed, which is that, to repeat, anything that is made up of parts, and by that I mean things which are detachable, is contingent, or meaning dependent. The universe is made up of such parts, therefore the universe is contingent.
Right. I guess the more general question I was wondering about was, so right now we actually use our intellect and our understanding of the universe, and we're inside the universe, right? And how do we know that all of that? How do we know that we can still use all of that to make an argument for what was before the universe? Because we have no experience.
Well, if you're talking about a cosmological argument, this is the question of how induction limits your findings is relevant to a kind of cosmological argument which only deals with what's inside the universe or what's outside. But 2 + 2 = 4. Let me ask you: does 2 + 2 = 4 equal 4 in the universe?
Yes.
If you go outside the universe, do we have any reason to believe 2 + 2 will not equal 4?
But how do we know it actually equals 4 outside the universe?
No, but is there any reason why 2 + 2 = 4, which is a necessary fact, would become contingent if you leave the universe?
Look, I think just to make it easier, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
To make it easier for Brother Waqas, would you say 2 + 2 = 4 is known through experience or is known a priori?
Sorry, could you define a priori? I'm not familiar with that.
So you have a priori and a posteriori. So a priori knowledge is knowledge that is known before experience, and a posteriori is knowledge which is known after experience. So do I need to get 2 bottles and then know that if you get 2 and you get another 2, therefore it's 4? Does experience teach me that, or is this known before experience?
I'm not sure what experience has to do with this.
Okay, to conclude the idea that 4 is 2 and 2 coming together, is that known before you get 2 apples and 2 apples and then 4 apples, 2 bananas and 2 bananas and 4 bananas?
Yeah.
Is that known through human experience, or is it known before human experience? Is it a priori?
I guess before.
Yes, and that's all he's saying. That this is not knowledge. That is, because remember, in philosophy, they would define a priori knowledge and a posteriori knowledge. This is a priori knowledge. This is not knowledge. There's nothing that you could do experimentally by bringing 2 and 2 bananas and get 7 bananas. There's no experience that can go against that. And it's known before. It's a conceptual reality before we experience the world. Sorry to interject, but that's a good way of...
Yeah. So let me put it this way, How do you know... Can you know... Forget about how do you know. Can you know 2 + 2 = 4? If I took away all of your 5 senses, if you no longer have any of the 5 senses that you have, can you still conceive 2 + 2 = 4?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So 2 + 2 = 4 is not dependent on any of your 5 senses.
Right, but it is.
So in that case, if that's then it's irrelevant whether you're in the universe or out of the universe for 2 + 2 = 4 to be 2 + 2 = 4, correct?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's
So in the same way, when I say that anything that is made out of parts, anything that is made out of parts, which is detachable or detachable is contingent, or anything that can be arranged in another way is contingent as well. So, for example, arrangement just means that something ABC can be CBA or BAC. Yeah, you can't do that rearrangement with 2 + 2 = 4. You can do it with a linear set ABC. You can rearrange it 3 times, but you can't arrange 2 + 2 = 4. So what I'm saying is, unless one wants to say that the universe itself is necessary, in which case they will have to define, they will have to explain why it has, they will have to explain how it could not be any other way. Because the thing is, the universe could be another way. It can be conceived of in another way. And moreover, anything that is made out of parts, if you take away those parts, then the universe, then that thing itself is already gone rid of. So if you take away each part of the universe, you can do so to a point where the universe doesn't exist anymore. But that's impossible for something necessary, because a necessary thing can never cease to exist by definition. It's something that cannot be any other way. So these arguments, basically, what I'm saying to you is, they don't depend on experience per se, or they don't only depend on induction. They don't only depend on your 5 senses. You can still make these arguments with reference to a priori claims, which is things that you know before experience. You get it?
Yeah, right. But okay, just on that example, right? We know that 2 + 2 = 4, but we know that because that's the reality of, within the universe.
No, you just told us that it doesn't depend on inside the universe or outside the universe, because we said if you didn't have your 5 senses, would 2 + 2 = 4 still be 2 + 2 = 4? And you said yes, it would be. So then the in and out universe dichotomy is irrelevant to this discussion when it comes to 2 + 2 = 4. I don't know why you feel like if you come outside the universe that 2 + 2 = 4 can be challenged.
Well, I'm saying I don't know if it's still 2 + 2 = 4, because
no, but you said that if you get rid of all of your senses, how do you know you're in the universe? How do you know you're in the universe?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
No, let's use our brain workers for a little bit. How do you know you're in the universe? I can ask someone young and they will be able to answer that. How do you know you're on the earth? How do you know?
Because I'm here. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Where are you right now? Where are you? Are you at
I'm
home?
on Earth. Yeah, I'm at home. Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because I can. I guess. Are you referring to my senses, or?
You tell me. Yeah, your senses. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see where you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So, how do you know you're in your house? How do you know you're in your country? Because you use your senses. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. So, how do you know you're in the universe?
Because of our senses. Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful. Now, imagine 2 + 2 = 4 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I get rid of all of your senses somehow, is 2 + 2 = 4 still something you know?
Yes, but if you just what I'm trying to ask is that if you take away our experiences, right? 2 + 2 = that's the reality of this universe, right? If you don't include our experiences, how do we know that the reality is still the same outside the universe?
Okay, because as I've mentioned, if it's conceivable without reference to knowing, you wouldn't even know whether you're inside the universe or outside the universe. You only know whether you're in the universe or outside the universe through your senses. If it's conceivable that 2 + 2 = 4 without your senses, that can be intelligible, that means you don't need your senses for it. That's what that means.
Yeah,
it means you don't need so if you don't need your senses for it, then you don't need the universe for it. You don't need the universe for it. The idea that 2 + 2 = 4 is dependent on the universe is an absurd idea. No one has ever said it before. You need to know that. No one in the history of philosophy has ever said this before. Do you get that idea? So 2 + 2 = 4 stands alone from the fact that whether you're inside the universe or outside the universe. because if it was dependent on the being inside or outside the universe, it would also be dependent on you knowing whether you're inside or outside the universe. And we've discovered that that's not dependent on that, because you can get rid of all of your senses, and you can still conceive of it.
So, Jazakallah khair for that, brother Waqas. I would recommend there's a book. I think you brought it into the office the other day on epistemology, and that book will go over a priori knowledge and a posteriori knowledge, and that will help with this, because that's the main issue here.
No, I think that one will be a bit difficult for the brother.
But you can get an introduction to epistemology by Oxford series. You know those books.
Is that a good one?
Yeah, those series, like there's one over there.
They got introduction to epistemology as well.
They should do. They do every single topic.
Human rights. Do that if you've got that, bro.
Yeah. So Jazakallah khair, brother Waqas.
What's the book? Sorry, what's the book called?
The Oxford Introduction series. Look up for their book on epistemology.
All right. Yeah, I'll do that.
They've got like introduction to. I'm not sure if they do have that one.
If they don't, just get a book on introduction to epistemology. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Let me see if they've got that.
And the brother Ilyas. Okay, brother. Also, as soon as you have come into the studio, please. Sorry. As soon as you've finished,
it's called a short introduction to knowledge.
Short introduction to knowledge. Yeah.